There's a pawn shop on the corner in Pittsburgh. Little boxes, little hillside.
Yes, that was
exact same tune.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All righty, let me just. Okay. Let me just see what we got here. Oh my God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I know, oh, that's not working.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is working. Thank God for small wonders. That's what my mom used to say when she'd look at me.
All right, this is my favorite mom Brady joke. Dad would say, "What a treasure," and she would say, "Yeah, let's bury it." All right, so welcome to Sacred Grounds. This is the longest running poetry open mic in the known and unknown universe. Give yourself a round of applause right here, right now. I'm Dan Brady, the current host of this, the longest running, since 1972, fine poetry and good food brought to you right here and right now. Well, not back then wasn't now, but now's now. Please respect the mic, and by this I mean if you have a conversation going on out there, listen to her so that I don't hear it. I'm a terrible eavesdropper, even though I don't have any eaves. If you have a device, like I know I do, now's the time to put it on vibrate, airline mode, whatever, some kind of thing so it doesn't go off while someone else is going off. You know what I mean? And the next thing, these are the ordinary things. Right over there on the wall is a URL with a link, and we stream live, so there are 5, count them, uses for that link. And the first, if you can't be here, you can virtually be here.
Whoa.
Second, if you want someone to see you live, well, you can say, tune in, I'm going to go on 10th or 4th or 3rd or 2nd or whatever it is, and they can do that. Or they can see someone else for a change. Why would they want to see you? I wouldn't want to see me. Anyway, if you want to hear that poem that you thought, oh, I love that poem, so-and-so, such a good, you can hear it again if you so desire. If you want to do a self-critique, like, I shouldn't have been doing with my nose while I was up there, then you can, of course, do that. And then, and most importantly, it's a way to getting the word out about this place, about your place, your space, our face, and like that. We have an ongoing theme, and that is a quote from Margaret Mead, which is, "Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." If you go back in time, you think about it, you go, yeah, a lot of them stupid ideas started out like that. 4 or 5 people, 6 or 8 people. And then that's the ongoing theme. Tonight's theme, however, we do have a theme.
It's not a required thing, but it's an advisory.
The theme is veterans, and Mr. Pickett over there thought about that. Gave us that. Tonight's keynote is Mr. Owen Dunkel. Give him a small round of applause here to recognize his keynoteness. And we have Martin Joseph over here as the feature. He's going to give the King's Wave. Come on, people. And then Alan Harris, aren't you the mini feature?
Yes.
Alan Harris over there, the mini feature. Thank you very much. Give him a nice round over there. Alan Harris. All right. And in case you read a poem by someone else, this is the attribution sheet. So you read a poem by somebody else, I'll say, I'll hand this to you. And you put your name, please, and the name of the poem, please, and the name of the author, please. So I don't always say Charge of the Light Brigade by Fauntleroy McManahan. So let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yes. We do have door prizes.
The door has had plenty of them, so the door is giving them away.
And tonight's prizes are very simple. Poetry from 2007, before the big change. 2001, even further before the big change. And 2008, when there was some good news to be had. And 2006, when we were just about getting so sick and tired of the bad news that we didn't think we'd had more of it, but we did. 2 more years, okay? And then, of course, if those don't punch your ticket, as my friend used to say, you can decide to be the keynote next week, which you'll see Owen doing. Choose the next week's theme, which Mr. Pickett did over there, choosing veterans for today. The mini feature comes in after the break, and they get a nice 8-minute stint up here, and then You can decide to be the last word, the very last word. No one goes after you, so they can't gainsay whatever it is you do. All right, now is there anything else?
How do you win them?
Oh, good question. This is a perfect question. How do you win? Well, when you signed up, there was a number next to your name. And I have these cards with numbers on them. So I shuffle the cards, pick a card, find the number, and that's how that's done. So it's kind of random. All right, is there anything else? No. Mr. Owen Dunkel is going to be coming up here now. Give him a round of applause. We're going to get started. I'll adjust this for him.
There you go. There we go. We're off and running, as my mom used to say. Get it all set up there, Owen. And I'll tune you in here.
For my keynote poem, I've chosen Prone to Brooklyn Bridge by Hart Crane. How many dawns chill from his rippling rest? The seagull's wings shall dip and pivot him, shedding white rings of tumult, building high over the chained bay water's liberty. Then within violet curve forsake our eyes, as apparitional as sails across, some painted figures to be filed away, till elevators drop us from our day. I think of cinemas, panoramic slights, with multitudes bent toward some flashing scene never disclosed but hastened to again, foretold to other eyes on the same screen. And thee across the harbor silver-paced, as though the sun took step of thee, that left some motion ever unspent in thy stride. Implicitly thy freedom stained thee. Out of some subway scuttle cellar loft, a bedlamite speaks to thy parapets, tilting their momently, shrill shirt ballooning, a jest falls from the speechless caravan. Down wall from girder into street noon leaks, a ripped tooth of the skies acetylene. All afternoon the cloud-flown derricks turned, thy cables breathe the North Atlantic still. And obscure as that heaven of the Jews, thy guerdon accolade thou dost bestow of anonymity time cannot raise. Vibrant reprieve and pardon thou dost show. O harpened altar of the fury fused, how could mere toil align thy choiring strings? Terrific threshold of the prophet's pledge, prayer of pariah and the lover's cry. Again the traffic lights that skim thy swift unfractioned idiom, immaculate sty of stars, beating thy path, condensed eternity. And we have seen night lifted in thine arms. Under the shadow by the piers I waited, only in darkness is thy shadow clear. The city's fiery parcels all undone. Already snow submerges an iron year. O sleepless as the river under thee, vaulting the sea, thy prairie's dreaming sod. Unto us lowly as sometimes sweep, descend and of the curve ship, when a myth to God. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Owen Dunkel. And many of these are keynote. There you go. There's the pen. It kind of broke there. All right. So let me read the next 5 people so they know whom they are. I think it's whom, isn't it? Whom? Who they are. Is it whom they are? Thank you. Whom. Okay, flight of the angels. Well, for God's sakes, thank you so much. All right, so we have Kelly Costello. Is it Costello? Kitty.
Costello.
Oh, there's no Don over there. Okay, Kitty Costello. Then we got David Z. Then Richard May. Then, wait a minute, I can't read this exactly.
That's a funny name.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Jen. Oh, Jen. Jen. Thank you. But there's a K there. It says, look, oh, how do you say the last name?
Cash.
Okay. Jen Cash. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
Every week.
every week. It's the same old story. Then we have Owen, then Jack, then Beeps, which is another name for me, before the Sanderel. And then we have our feature, Martin Joseph. Adolf is coming after that. Then we got Alan and Mr. Pickett over there. And other people who may show up in the meantime, I'll put them in as they come across. We may go. We may do that. But you never know. The bus could come and drop us all off. All right, so, Kitty, would you kindly take the stand? We're going to treat her like she's the first timer here, people. We're going to give her a treatment. She hasn't been here a long time. Thank you very much. Speak! Arthur.
Well, I've only been here a couple of times, but starting, I don't know, way back, was my first time. And then I haven't been here so much because I usually work on Wednesday nights. But that's my excuse. So I actually have news about a really monumental San Francisco poet who used to read here all the time, Leonard Irving. Do people remember Leonard?
Yes.
Yeah. So he died on the 6th in Vermont at the age of 92. I just came back from his funeral, and which was the greenest green burial you ever saw. That he was buried on the land of the farm where he lives. He's an old Scottish poet for people who don't know him. So we're going to arrange for an evening to have a memorial for him here, but I just wanted to read a few of his poems. One of them just happens to match the theme of veterans.
All right.
He was a veteran. He survived the sinking of 2 ships. He was part of the D-Day forces, and he survived the sinking of 2 ships while he was in the military. So some of these I can't resist doing it with his Scottish accent, so if that starts happening...
We understand. They listen to me all the time, so...
This one's called Driving Through a Scottish Village. The driver paused to allow 7 goslings resembling small scrubbed girls in Sunday best dresses, stepping as do geese in single file to cross to the other side of this lost country road, and for a moment it seemed that all the mists of Scotland appeared to watch and wait, as we did in this Stone Age village beneath the shoulder of a gaunt heathered hill, ancient as snow, with the earth arrested and time upended. Then we drove on.
Nice.
Send those applause off to Len. So he lived for a long time at the Elk Hotel, single SRO. Single room occupancy.
And he always went to the same one and the same room if he could possibly do it, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then he... Oh, no, it's down on Eddie.
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah. And he migrated back and forth between here and Vermont for many years too, and finally settled there. But this was a poem he wrote at the Elk, and I don't know why, this is just one of my favorite poems of his ever. The Guy in 401. The Guy in 401. Talk about a louse, a deadbeat, a real pain, a self-pronounced deer poacher. Played his TV full blast at all hours. Thought nothing of banging on your door in the middle of the night to bum a cigarette or a drink. His one claim to fame, a trained mouse. Trained to do what? Sing Grand Opry? I once asked. He merely glared, a liar, a thief, a petty swindler, pilferer, shoplifter, mouse exploiter. Shit that he was. He upped and died last week. Couldn't believe the corridor is lonely without him.
Nice.
Last one.
Can I ask a quick? Is there one in there that has the line on the something about giants? About at the end? Just,
I don't know offhand.
okay, all right. Just check.
But you're welcome to look.
I will later because I don't know. I can't remember which book it's in. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I'm taking your time.
So this, am I over?
No.
So this is from his poetry book, Farewell Dundren, and one of them, it's the town where he was born in Scotland. Dirge of an old warrior. When I die, hang this shirt of fire below an old shield found in a field. Hang it high in some hall where suit of mail, dirk and spear needs no more this arm to wield. Display these artifacts, ornaments, souvenirs that historians trace, curious tourists admire, vandals deface, that unarmed men who dare attempt to realize the peculiar problems of turning sword into plowshare.
Nice. The voice of Leonard Irving. Thank you, Kitty. And I saw the eye this time.
I'm going to move the mic back a foot. You won't get the feedback.
Could you do that for me?
Yeah.
Oh! Okay, yeah, I'll see if I can find it. All right.
This more out this way.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. How silly of me. David Zeltzer is next. Tune him in. Give him a round of applause.
Not David Zeltzer.
Not David Zeltzer.
Not David Zeltzer.
It's the David Zeltzer, as a matter of fact, unless I very much miss my guess, which I often do because
Well, it's one of the David Zeltzers.
one
Don't
of
know which
them.
one. So it happened over a week ago, and we haven't been rounded up yet. I guess he still doesn't know what the hell is going on.
He's not tweeting. Oh, yes, he is. Sorry. He is. Right. I made a mistake. He's not being an idiot. Oh, sorry. He's being.
Now, I realized when I got here and I heard what the theme was, this next poem might fit under the theme of veterans. It's called The Gulf of Tonkin. Many of you should remember that line.
Oh, yeah. We were. What was that again? Give him a break over there. It's my job to be an idiot.
In a word, I was groggy and tired of this mud hole we call home. Charles, I can't suck your patriotic fervor, but it's all right. We've got the door open to an intergalactic life that feeds on our children and the rubber gun in your ear. Hell, I like to dance in the nervous afternoon in my counterintelligence suit, making strange noises that settle in my hair and loose clothing, like macrobiotic napalm on transparent skin. Remember the river's gleam? The falls cold as ashes? Charles, what's up your sleeve? A tin horn and a dead dog? Oh, sweet far-off kiss, I like to dance, to photograph the sun, till a breeze should push me off this mountain toward Lenin and the kids, playing strangely, not fucking Mick Jagger, Mediterranean puppet dictator. Here's 2 newspapers, one West Coast-style mass murder, another angel from the museum, a little crusty maybe, but not your style, eh? We remember. We watch the factory swell, the radio humming as we sleep singing, even the hills humming while we sleep. We wash to the sea, sweating ourselves out in rivulets and gravelly streams, chanting the death of a wrinkled man whose insides are vast with grief. We open the ground to receive a daughter. We kiss all over in water, dreaming of love and these long rides with the dust, with a staggering Jesus, with his shiny black ring. We drift off to sleep. We will bury this ring.
Nice.
Thank you. And this is a short poem, but it's a favorite of mine from the last century. Last message from Balloonist in Chains. May 29, Peter smashed into trailer. What a bastard. Rush me to my fingertips. Babies in my radio photograph themselves. Rumor drives me on. Love, Debbie Jordan, Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you may remember in the old days, If we didn't like how the government was spending our money, we wouldn't pay certain taxes.
I remember that.
So this last poem is called Direct Assessment of Uncollected Telephone Excise Tax as Reported by Your Telephone Company. Aware of the red shift in your painting, you must be traveling faster again. If you can find your way over here and make love on a hilltop where it's still raining and we are sharing true joy. I know I'm not alone, as Charlie Potts once said. Let's get high off each other all day or sleep all day, longing for a hieroglyphic life. Which life now owned by Nathan the Giant, who is in fact a bunch of poems on cassette tape. I myself am a refugee in Michigan, now in a vision of another freedom, living in these beautiful but dwindling forests of Oregon, thinking of you in a new world. I hope things are well with you in the heart of the country, inside a sleeping giant fascism. Thought I'd pass this poem on to you. In it we receive a dream, now taking it apart with my teeth. Every thought and movement, that vision of your eyes. I am one of many in the world. And like those hungry little fuckers, the hummingbirds, I'm constantly at your door. Thank you.
David Z. The Z-Man. Thank you. And now we have something a little bit on the special side. Richard May is going to give us something a little special. Planned and unplanned, objective and not. And now I'm going to stop because I'm stopping to making sense. Okay? Give him a round of applause, please. And I got to zoom in on you, buddy. Oh, raise that up.
Give it a test. Raise it up and give it a test because I just changed the settings.
You changed the setting?
Yeah. Little feedback.
Okay. All right. Technical.
Please, thank you.
There we go. Now. Hello.
So, yeah, this is a little bit longer, and I ask your indulgence, and you need to know that it is a true story as I remember it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're.
When I was about 8 or 9 years old and still living in New York, my mom and her boyfriend took me to a man-made beach. I do not remember exactly where it was located or what, if any, name it had. I do remember that we had never been there before and never went again. I call it a beach, but all it was a strip of gently sloping ground adjacent to the East River where the city had dumped enough sand to call it a beach. This is what passes for a public recreation site when you are a minority growing up in the South Bronx of New York City in the 60s. Anyway, instead of a tide like at the ocean, there was a pretty swift current, and if you were not a strong swimmer, a person could easily be swept away. Did I mention that when I was younger, I could barely float? Still can't claim to be a good swimmer. There was a lifeguard on duty, but there was only one that I could see, and his tower was situated at the opposite end of the strip from where we had placed our blanket. I remember that it was a very warm day, and even though I couldn't swim, I still wanted to get in the water and cool off. I have no idea why, but the way the place was set up, at one end of the strip was a large brick structure that gutted out into the middle of the river. This structure had a ledge that curled around to a far side that was hidden from where the beach proper was. The height of this ledge in relation to the water was a level such that it allowed me to stand with my head just above water level. Being naturally curious, like most kids my age, I soon discovered the hidden ledge and wanted to see how far around the outcropping it went. So I started to walk out along it, in the middle of the river and away from where the adults and lone lifeguard were. In my mind, I was in an adventure movie, walking along a narrow ledge somewhere in the French Alps. As I turned the corner, I realized that the only way to traverse the ledge was to press myself against the wall as if I really were on a mountain ledge, which only added to my sense of adventure. The other thing that occurred to me was that I was no longer visible to anyone on the beach, including the lifeguard. I am not sure exactly when, but I suddenly started to get nervous and realized that I might have made a bad decision and started to inch my way back the way I had come. Well, wouldn't you know it, just as I began to head back, I lost my footing and started to fall into the river. At one time or another, we have all probably heard about how when we are falling or otherwise about to suffer some perilous indignity, how time seems to slow down, how everything around us seems to move in slow motion. I have a theory about this phenomenon. Number one, that it is real. And number two, that what is really happening is that things around us are not really moving in slow motion, but that our brain is speeding up. Our sense of comprehension has accelerated to enable us to analyze the situation and come to the conclusion that we have seriously fucked up and we will never ever get in this situation again. So as I was saying, in the split second that my life was passing before my young eyes, because I have no illusion that I would ever be able to save myself by suddenly becoming a good swimmer. Hell, who am I kidding? I wouldn't have been able to even float my way out of this predicament as fast as the current was flowing. Seemingly out of nowhere, I felt a hand on my shoulder, pushing me back on the pathway. After getting over the shock of being saved from sure death, I turned to see who my newfound benefactor was. What I saw were two smiling faces that, and I kid you not, seemed to be glowing. No, that is not the best word to describe how they appeared. They were extremely vital and alive with energy. Perhaps the best analogy is for you to imagine, if you will, that you are watching a movie on an old black and white vacuum tube set from the 1950s, and then to switch to a color, ultra-modern, 100,000 pixel to the inch, high definition, 60-inch with surround sound. These guys were crystal clear to me. They were freaking sparkling. They were both light-skinned with curly black hair and looked like they might be Puerto Rican. I am not sure how old they were, but it was obvious that they were older than me. The older and larger of the two might have been 18. The smaller one, just a few years younger. All I could see were their heads bobbing up and down above the water level, but they were clearly very good swimmers, as neither one seemed to be having any trouble maintaining their position in an otherwise very powerful current. The smaller of the two had this almost idiotically blissful expression on his face, and he maintained perfect eye contact with me. I make note of how he looked at me because I remember not being uncomfortable with his stare. Ordinarily, when you catch someone staring at you, especially at your face, unless you are offended, feel challenged and choose to stare back in defiance, a person will look away after a short while. I did not feel challenged, and I did not look away. If anything, I felt as if there was sincere affection for me behind his eyes, which made no sense at all since we had never previously met. He didn't say anything. He just kept staring and smiling at me. The larger, older guy, who was also smiling, but not quite in the same way, said, "You should be more careful." What seemed odd was the flatness of his voice. Like I mentioned earlier at first, they appeared to be Puerto Rican, which would not be a surprise, it being the South Bronx and all. So when he spoke, I expected to hear an accent. None was forthcoming. Before I could respond, he looked toward the way I had come and then back at me. It did not take a genius to figure out that he was indicating that it might be a good idea to continue to head back to safety. In response, I said nothing, but just nodded. After a couple of tentative steps, I thought it might be appropriate to say thank you. When I turned to express my appreciation for what they had done, I'm still not sure which of the two was attached to the hand that saved my life. They were nowhere to be seen. It had only been a few seconds, and I half expected them to be escorting me to safety. As best as I could, I scanned the area for at least a vision of a bobbing head or a splash that would indicate a swimmer. There was no indication of anyone ever having been near me. They had totally disappeared. Eventually, I was able to inch myself back to safety, and as I think back, the rest of the day is a blur of images with nothing specific coming to mind as worth mentioning. Getting back to the potential spirituality of what happened to me on that day, I would like to point out a few oddities that only occurred to me much later in life. There was no way that the two guys that saved me could have known that I was unable to swim. And as I remember the sequence of events that happened, that particular day as I lost my balance. I gave no indication of a need for assistance. I was not flailing my arms, nor did I call out for help. For all anyone might have known, I was just about to dive in from my perch on the unseen jutting out path of stone walkway. The other thing that was the timing of my unknown benefactors was absolutely perfect, as was the amount of pressure I felt as they pushed me back to relative safety. In fact, it was not so much a push as it was a nudge. Some other questions that come to mind are, where did they come from? And more to the point, where did they go after our interaction? Did they think, okay, he's fine and we should disappear, as opposed to we should stick around and make sure he gets back to safety? Since after all, I was a kid who had already shown some bad judgment. How did they know I needed help? Were they watching me beforehand and eventually came to the correct conclusion that at some point I was literally going to be in over my head? Over the intervening years, I have told this story many times, and I have realized that it has developed into a sort of religious litmus test to those I told it to. By that I mean that almost without exception, people who have heard this story fall into two categories. Those that are pious with a strong, devout religious faith immediately come to the conclusion that my rescuers were actually angels sent to protect me. The other group consists of diehard atheists. I know this to be true because I have asked them what their spiritual beliefs are afterwards, who came to my infinitely more rational conclusion that I am an extremely lucky individual, that my two rescuers were regular habitual users of this particular swimming hole, and that they had previously seen many other foolhardy idiots like myself take one too many steps down that slippery path and wind up just as I was about to, in dire need of rescue, and decided to be proactive. I know what interpretation makes more sense. I also know how strange I felt at the time, and I have yet to feel that way again. Even while I have had other instances where I felt as though my life might have been in danger. One can certainly point out that because the circumstances surrounding this experience, age, location, degree of danger, can never be replicated, it is no wonder that I have had not the same feeling. I suppose at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is that I am still here to tell this story. What do you believe?
Nice. Thank you. Good job. All right. And now we have, talking about special things of the evening, we have another special here. Jen Cash is coming up at this point. Were you aware of that? You were next? Oh, yeah, yes, you are. All right, give her a nice round, please. I already put you on here. Very good. Yes. All right. Get it a little
higher.
Yeah, and go right, get closer.
Like this, like this.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
Okay, so I'm gonna rhyme. Warning. This is called Midnight Ride Deferred. Turn off the news. Turn out that light. What the fuck are we doing up so late every night? Don't confuse this with some type of an end. What's to be sad about? Let's not pretend. Nothing's yet happened that is much of a changer. One solid loss does not guarantee danger. We're pissed that things went wrong for those in control for far, far too long. Let's move on. Get over the shock. Our new president, novel, again comes with a cock. Admit I was angry. I thought it was now, but not the right woman, not the right how. Still, I cannot be the salmon or sheep, swimming upstream, my opinion a bleep. I'm not sure that the nation did speak. A chorus restrained as a sound that is weak. What would I march for if I joined in some quest to wander yet still in uncertain protest? Maybe I'll choose a different table for lunch. I'll continue to plan, yet follow my hunch. We have entered the era of Oz. The wizard's not wicked, nor is he hard. But no person is in charge of the sky. There's no conspiracy. There is no why. May the internet continue to make clear what Dorothy revealed. No one in charge here. Just another primate caught by the tail who promised better promises for sale. And what was bought when the invoices come through? I signed on nothing and neither did you. Consider if someone was testing a joke. To skew requires both patience and smoke. This country is not about one race alone. It's all the glass houses and each and every one's stone. I've no time for a nation of hate. After the swell, it too will abate. Children with permission will run into harm. Remove that permission, turn off the alarm. I refuse to forget a most basic truth, learned from my father way back in my youth. Terror can only thrive when there's fear. Hate is a word you can refuse to hear. I'm a woman who chooses no doom, but I'm a woman who will give some room for all the rhetoric to swing back to sane. Baba Black Sheep, it was just the campaign. And what if instead I'm way off base? Will I again meet that train? Will it again end my race? Chicken Little was right, the sky will fall, but it won't be piecemeal and it won't be a wall. Do I worry that perhaps my rights will be curbed? Sexism is not new, it will not be disturbed. Why do you look to me for the comforting verse I've never consoled, and more often I curse? If you ask instead what I think of right now, I don't think to rebel, but instead I think how to take the gift of this final old man who is white and make his denouement the start of my fight. Swift revolutions are smart but not long. Waste no time yet on what might go wrong. Instead, my focus is on how best to lead and which of my poetry will help to read. I've been waiting for this exact time, afraid of uncertain. Most still don't get rhyme. My father, my boss, every last white rich man. I swallowed, I sucked up, I went with a plan. But each one remembers that look in my eye, my consent. Even fucking was part of a lie. Don't be mad about the aging's last stand. Let's elevate it. Let's form a band. I will march down the street and lead all the sound. But notice in front there is nobody found. The dying cannot stay forever in charge. No part of history is ever that large. Make the cry. Do not be afraid to call. This is the final gentleman's ball. Creative ambition will shove out the greed. And women like me, we are prepared to lead. Let the old guy on the right take the hit and the fall. Let the left regroup. 2 years to install a plan that provides a universal tune. Everything is brighter, but you must trust the moon. All you breeders, pull your kids close. You quiet, scared, my fierce verbose. I do not consider this a big loss. Apathetic left, the right with that cross. What will it take to get everyone to see? The formula to win is A plus B equals C. Though math not my subject, A is a breeze. It's allowing everyone to be who they please. B is where popularity plays its part. To be loved by all, speak straight to each heart. So how the open and kind get to see? Be patient, beginners, and listen to me. Like I know that my breath will greet me each day. I know the old guards will soon give way. To alienate a nation and start screaming bad names is exhausted and long lost Civil War games. Come to my home or write me your thoughts, contributions to futures that are being sought. What did the veteran say to his sword before the war he marched toward? A warrior first attempts to persuade, uses every weapon before drawing his blade. I like to think every now and again that victory can come from only one pen. My goal is to make the world so much better with all of my words, with every last letter. And if in the end that proves not enough, I will fight further still because I am that tough. I'm done crying for the single election. Enter old witches, I approve resurrection. It appears the emperor-elect wears no clothes. Men without modesty are a challenge to expose. Follow behind like we have for all ages. Be selective with harm. Do it in stages. Do not be seen. Do not get caught. Above all else, do not get bought. We are those in need of no rest, relentless awake in our vampire nest. Perhaps we were waiting out here before dawn for America to wake its collective last yawn. I command all to come, but not until the last gasp, when the ignorant hand will not lessen its clasp. Only then, when there's zero room for debate, while I lift up one finger to open hell's gate. Almost fooled I went from my spells, but I prefer winning without public tells. Keep it together, take lessons and cool. No man is ever the last chosen fool. I will stay home with my cats and rehearse, but be assured, I know every curse. When it's time for women to reign, we will take our throne and will not have to explain. The battle was lost because no one was sold. No Renaissance ever has looked quite so old. But what can you do, world of beginners? Millennial comfort does not equal winners. To start, find a part of you that is real, protect at all costs, beg, borrow, and steal. And when the truth in you cannot part, you will know what it means to have a patriot's heart. Then if they ask how much to pay to take that honest you part away, our answers align and are cast without doubt. There is no price for which I tear my soul out. And then we all might be a true tribe. sophomores and sorcerers on the same side. I'm prepared to die for all of our rights, but when dying an option, I'm choosing my fights. Bonded together, we can run any race. The hero loses steam, then we set the pace. Charge into all battles where shit is just wrong, but hold back the dead weapons until we are strong. Listen for war songs, my call to arms will be clear, and sung in the voices of all those you hold dear. Where only golden armor to the beaches at full tide, and horses will be waiting when for freedom we shall ride.
Woo! Thank you. Kitty Cash! Knocked it out.
Could you put the names of the poems you read in that?
Thank you. All right, so we have a quick announcement, right? And then we have Owen coming up, then Jack, then Beeps, which is another name for Meeps, and then the Sanderell and Lord Haw Haw. What?
Bob Dewhurst and I were at City Hall hearing today, and the commissioners have officially adopted Sacred Grounds as a legacy business.
What? Wow, we're legacy! We've only been here 45 years, 50 years. I thought you were going to talk about yours.
Yes. My
Clarion also, right? Clarion. Yeah, Clarion also. So wow.
Double happy.
Double happy.
What does that mean?
Well, Teddy gets certain economic breaks, isn't it right? Tax
Yeah, a
breaks?
little bit, but most of all, they're sort of helping us to make sure that Sacred Grounds can stay here and not being able to.
They're going to try. It'll be
picked out by the landlord or anything.
It makes it easier for us to be here and go.
Yeah.
Dodged another dang bullet.
Nice.
All right. Did you either of those two? Okay, I just want to make sure because we have people here. You could get up on the mic and just do something. At some point, yeah. After the break.
I'm observing that.
I'm Dan. All right, sorry. All right, so thank you. My good news, I gotta. Will Owen Dunkel kindly come forth or fifth? And you might notice that he was the keynote, but the keynote reads somebody else's poem, and thus the keynote always returns to do one of theirs. And of course, Jack Melander follows before me, and then Richard, and then our teacher, Mr. Martin, the wonderful poet, Joseph. I like the way you blinked your eyes like that. It makes me feel, Irish. Thank you. I wish you were here. Sorry, I'll stop that now. Give Owen a because I was being. All right, Owen, you're on, dear.
I thank my lucky stars for abstruse, obtuse verities, for classless objects, and for the abilities to mean more in an ultimate sentence. At times I feel like a subject, an object, maybe even a predicate nominative. Once I dreamed I was thinking about the beach, the wind tearing the sky apart, separate from the thrones of clouds, the reasons for driftwood, rocks, dogs, and the tiny curlicues of foam. If I could return to that place by the doves, the sea beach seasons, saved all coves, and see the clouds and know nothing. The place inside me is like rocks and blemishes, brooding and searching. Who am I? Who am I? I am one on the street man, the men who stand spread-eagled in their quiet doorways as if they could reach up somehow to the clouds, above the birds, the herds of birds that fly. Sometimes they will speak as God, and the black sky will become heaven. On Marianne Street, La Crescenta, L.A. A long white block, there were walls of stucco painted the color of Oriental Avenue and Monopoly, rust-colored chimneys, the hot sun of summer, dew on the grass, the quiet blues of winter, frost on the weeds and the rocks. It was ordinary other than that. When spring comes to the city, the air turns to rain and flowers. The sun is beautiful, the sun prances its promise of warmth and love, but the wind, the biting wind from the ocean is sharp. The air is cold and penetrating to remind me of the sun ruined a life of pain. I am the extravagance of feeling. I am running from the eyes of a closet of nothing. The sky can plant the trembling centrifuge on the skull of nature. This is from my chapbook, Tight Sung Outcry. Rocks awakening. Little men out to sea, fishing invisible, their tongues to quiet, pacing the determined hours upon the quiet soft sand, the obsequious waves to lull me to heaven. Milieu possum in terrace, salt on the dew of the woods of manna, manna, manna. Cry windward the sperms, rock soil of true endeavor, selfhood, survival of the fittest lying quietly on the sand. Kelp rocks barter no more their abalone fervor to please the rich pasies and posies of Tight Sung Outcry. Sonnet 2. The way I should have taken, a way unwise, I took today, in a profound sort of way, in a funny way, the heart forsaken, and feelings quieted by the unshaken, quiet, firm fruit. Chances we may see through the air, we say we are breathing lust, awaken the rare tooth of the raw sip, of the penetration of 20 valises laden with eons of our raw root. We eschew the strength of heavy sneezes. We swarm through the air like bees and flies, our hungry hearts open to truth and lies. Owls slack. Harumps harking, hacking, wheezing out to all, in the calm sweetness, penance, pecking, forbearance of the shark's dandelion. Come as they may mean nothing, Phoebus, nothing to that bringeth the brazen coitus of the meadowlark and vine. A new education. To walk in the worlds we walk and wonder, like the barefoot, benighted, wide-eyed wanderer of Pilgrim's Progress caught in the net that catches fish in the ocean. Much like an electric train at sea, stands pinions and pennants, lords and ladies of that chance, the day of fire and delight. Men become seraphim, women fast and pray for the denarii to fly them to heaven.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
One of our honored elders, elder honors. And now will Jack Melander kindly come forth. Jack, give him a nice round of applause. The excellence of this man is excellent.
This is called booby pride. When sometimes, after profitable wars, the government throws sops to peasantry and into educational wars its windfalls for returning soldiery, the disciplines we style humanities are curiously relevant once more. Jobs found in them and universities will graduate their majors then galore. A poem for Veterans Day. What with our endless wars and all, since our last revolution, there was always the beloved national hero, the honorable combat vet of one war or another, trying in his wildly underbriefed way to prove to his non-combatant countrymen how cheap we should all hold our manhoods. Wage slaves over the amber waves, peasant factotums of a free land, for purple mountains of exploitation. Very employable at the supervisory level are decorated soldiers. Peacetime is always elated to learn the efficacy of fear until people realize how few there are screwing things up for everybody. Until enough combatants muster the guts to challenge them, then our two sides have a nice civil war. But that was long ago. There have been scads of foreign wars since then. Now slavery equals subsistence pay. The master's technology says prisoners are surveilled. But the overseer is still just the combat vet undebriefed. The conscious squad from the battlefield who believe in intimidation, coercion, one-upmanship, bullying, braggadocio, fleering, sneering, snide, sarcastic, egomaniacal, power-mongering, control. Whom they'd intimidate, I'll harden. Whom they coerce, I'll liberate. To their pride, I'll show shamefacedness. For their fleering, I'll return praise. If they're sneering, I'll be bolstering. To their sarcasm, I'll speak truth. If they're snide, I'll be companionable. When they're egomaniacal, I'll be egalitarian. Disdaining power, they'll worship empathy. No longer control freaks, they'll grow freedom-loving. The combat poet will be given over to positive passions and pluser lusts, mustering out of the epic, moreover, in lyrical modes to at last place his trust. Brotherhood. Only America could turn one guy into a war vet and his brother into a hippie suffering from a military-industrial complex. Oh, that unconscionable science should countenance such unconsciousness of conscience in its business functionaries and security services. Why should the depredations of foreign wars or domestic rebellions discompose the bonds of friendship between brothers? Why should not a tear of nostalgic pacifism come into the veteran's eye parading around the corner in view of the anarchist's warranted protester, cheering the protectors of rights and freedoms grinning? Why should not fraternal rapprochement grow between those who fight wars and those that fight to stop them? Why shouldn't they sympathize with one another's inclination toward the pursuit of the same happiness? This is called Who Owns America? Whether the war is won or lost, whether fought by conscripts or volunteers, whether paid for by taxes or massive international loans, surviving veterans return. Their non-combatant countrymen may feel their veteran perfidy, though boys still just can't wait till when they can sign up for soldiery and march in a killer parade. The veterans become cops. The veterans go into management. The veterans ride herd on everyone except the rich. After all, only the veterans really knew the war kit, those exemplars of greatest love. So the veterans own the country now. They leave the peaceful folk and good with rights and freedoms sorely won, forfeit for security. What brotherhood is left then but for the gun? Where blithe hill skaters of elation will risk a rainy night of fun without a thought to mere predation. May friends debriefing be begun. It's called Veterans of Domestic Rebellion. Men such as have done months of time who don't take readily to rhyme, not oft affecting arduous sports. They're hunting for a box of shorts, a Pyrex, a pipe to 20 bump. They cycle not that rushwood stump, but only bike if motorized. When hungering for some eldritch drug, they're known poor scribes for funds to bug. Their reps, their style, and only wealth. It's unlikely it's for health when they're seen to get exercised. Their words, though mainly foul, are prized. It's called To the Rebel POW, Newly Repatriated. Don't let the shame of the crimes you get caught for destroy the joy of the ones you don't. Just because you feel like a shallow man, you don't have to act like a nutcase. What would love be like with a ravishing girl when pretty or cute would be sexy enough? Nobody knows who any knows where the impressionist masquerade, but you are acclaimed a winning revolutionary, though you know you're just a revolting rebel.
Thank you. Jack Melander. And now that brings us to me, you know, as it were. So let me just get organized here.
Are you going to read this in a brogue?
Huh?
You're going to do this in a brogue?
No, I'm supposed to be doing this in a brogue. I got to get some of us organized here for a moment.
How about a Habib?
Habib, I never thought about that. All right, so Veterans Day, eh? So I'm going to go from the specific to the general. Not like the general, but from the specific piece to something that then wraps up the specific piece and gets very broad in scope. All right. This is called coverage. From our heartland, fields of corn and green wheat. Outside his window near the high school, a small town boy, man, proud to serve, a stand-up guy, open doors, prayerful and kind. He went to another world, a dusty, gray, and dying land. It was just another day. It was an abandoned pomegranate grove. In the photo, his blue eyes searched the sky. Huddled over his shredded legs, they told him, "You'll make it. It's okay. Look at me. Look at me." And it was this story about him, the long delay in its download due to an advertisement for a new car. The dust whipped up, a helicopter's shadow, its stark silhouette will take him to where he will die. And that one photograph they each paused to look at on their cell phones, his final moment, is the one photograph no one will see because no one will risk publishing. On Labor Day, in one town, one family has questions for the president. So, and then this goes, and this one is, again, this anthology, the Poets 11 anthology, is one of the poems I have in there. Very great anthology, lots of people. Anyway, so here we go. So this takes us to the general, the larger picture. And I'll just read it because it works as well as without an introduction. It's called They Call It. They Call It. And you'll find out who they are in a minute. They call it a failed place. A place of dis-ease, a place where no one knows their place anymore, where counting, numbers, and abstractions have become as real as that which is counted, and where they count everything, and then it's all denominated, even as the sacred, the eternal, has been forgotten, forsaken, even forsworn of its denizens' hearts. Hard as this is to believe, it is all of it true, and still there's more. What seems morally impossible, astonishingly they dismember their network, act to consume it, using monstrous creations to dig, break, scorch, or bury their living sphere. Poisons are let to soak into soils which die, as do rivers. So that now life is leaving a home world. Something so incredibly rare as to be unheard of, but it is happening, and in the unlikeliest place. Its being's obsession with possessions real and not have devolved, lost sight, and who, in their rage, extinguish their own kind. Make coin from everything that lives, everything that dies. Its own denizens call it bedlam, pandemonium, a chaotic melee of enmity, a place of devouring, ruled over by soulless incorporates which mark everything with cold calculations, where hungry ghosts raise up the dead to worship an eternal evil that then thrives on their godlessness. It is a world of pain, where every joy is a sufferance, love wilts, and their beliefs are simply not to be believed. This place, vast in abyssal sorrow, harbors more horrors than we can describe, such that those in the vast deep reaches of this universe who feel kindness, know love, are soulfully connected to the great family, feel this disturbance in the force, and have come to know this unique point, this painful rift in the networks of amity. The cries from this place reach to all heaven, into all time, and so to the universes before and yet to come.
Such is the inheritance of separation, the yield of irrational, passionate fear, the great bounty of forgetfulness, the ruination of rationality. Some call it the place of regret, others the lost place of ignorance. Some say it is ruin, and this is why we, in our trillions of trillions of trillions, on the myriads of worlds set in their glittering heavens, have begun a chorale. We sing that this place may be soothed, for love to bloom and peace to hold sway, that the web of life will heal and prosper, and that the great song will return to this strange planet Earth. Thank you. Thank you very much. My mother thanks you, my brother's cousins, best friends, uncles, second neighbors, cousin's dog. Thanks you. And now, if I can turn my attention to the doorway over there, Mr. Richard Sanderell. Yes, I know, I'm going to get him, but Mr. Sanderell, you need to, I'm being rude. I'm just getting him up here. There you go. Give Richard a round of applause, please. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Richard May, meet Richard Allen. Richard May, Richard Allen.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, you can drop the sir.
Ma'am. Can I say ma'am? He said drop that sir. I said, sorry, I'll stop now.
Too late.
I won't really. Okay.
Oh,
I stopped.
okay. All right, I'm going to be gentle tonight.
Oh, good.
It is unusual.
Yeah, well.
Oh, by the way, all empires are gilded with gold before the fall.
Yes!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make sure he's in the audience every time.
Yeah, this guy.
Don't cry because of the sadness, but from the bittersweetness. Ancestors, for some reason, threw themselves from the ocean onto the land, and they liked it so much they moved in. Oh dear. And oh yeah, don't blame me for the 90s. I voted for George Clinton and Leslie Gore. One word. Well, one
Now
word.
we're talking. That's progress. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. But get on the mic there. Some people might not be able to hear you.
Night shines day. I get cloth, time to shine dark night. It brings day. Light as all things flow through starry-eyed galaxies. Meet my love. She studies, participates in what life offers, from the world, mind, body, soul. She has no reason to be forgiven. She does not see things as sins, but learnings. If not learned, repeated. Tragic. She's ornamented with black diamonds to take away their radiance. When the sun rises, the black of night remains with her. Stardust falls during the night onto her hair, winking at me as she circles, mesmerizes, draws me in. They wonder why I love snakes, representing male, female, transforming cultures. Lose ourselves in eyes, looking for that invitation to remain. One who binds you to the spell, transfixes, hypnotizes, enthralls, as outside worlds die. Mesmerize. It's been a bad week.
Yes.
Really? It's not just because of because of the rump. Leonard Cohen passed.
Yes.
And Leon Russell passed.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Rose Allison died.
Oh,
Rose Allison.
man.
Oh, well, I didn't know about Mose either. Leon Russell, if you love the blues, if you ever get a chance to shelter days with Freddie King, he brought Freddie King back. Freddie King is one of those blues players who was from Texas, who blended the Texas blues with the Chicago blues, and gave us a whole new dimension of blues. If you don't know Freddie, please check him out. And on it, of course, is Leon. And if you ever notice, Leon had the longest fingers I've ever seen. If you ever get a chance to see him on tape, look at those fingers. You'll know why he had such range and reach. But anyway, I was going to read Democracy, but it's longer. So I'm going to read First We Take Manhattan. They sentenced me to 20 years of boredom for trying to change the system from within. I'm coming now, I'm coming to reward them. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. I'm guided by a signal in the heavens. I'm guided by this birthmark on my skin. I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. I'd really like to live beside you, baby. I love your body and your spirit and your clothes. But you see, that line here is moving through the station. I told you, I told you, I told you I was one of those. You loved me as a loser, but now you're worried that I might win. You know the way to stop me, but you don't have the discipline. How many nights I prayed for this, to let my work begin. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. I don't like your fashion business, mister, and I don't like these drugs that keep you thin. I don't like what happened to my sister. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. I don't like your fashion business, mister, and I don't like these excuse me. I'd really like to live beside you, baby. I love your body and your spirit and your clothes. But you see, that line there is moving to the station. But I told you I was one of those. And I thank you for those items that you sent me. That monkey and the plywood violin. I practice it every night. Now I'm ready. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. And I am guided. Remember me. I used to live for the music. Remember me. I brought your groceries in. Well, it's Father's Day, and everybody is wounded. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin.
You can stand around. Stand around.
Excuse me, but also Gwen Eiffel. She passed.
Oh yes, Gwen Eiffel. Thank you.
All right.
That's been a bad week.
Indeed.
Play this one.
All right.
What?
What? Oh.
Sorry to hear it, but that's true.
Better take this off because you don't need to do that right now.
All right. I get to brag on somebody at this very moment. The feature for this evening has been known to me for some time. The tapes and the video clips, forget that. The man has a sense of humor. The man has poetry of the heart and soul. He has courage, fortitude. He's written poems that cover the grounds here and has put us in the eternal modes of poems which will go on and on and on. He has eternalized this place, and in so doing has eternalized us. He's kind, he's caring, he's careful, he never gets caught. Very important. And what was the name of that thesis you had that you never did that you wanted to do? Who do we shoot next? What was that one?
Oh, who do we shoot?
Who do we shoot? And that was a thesis outlining like which persons should we do this to in order to enact social change for the betterment of all. And the upshot was, well, there's probably too many of them, something like that. I don't know, is that right?
I can think of one.
So, anyway, so we move on from that to a good poet, a kind-hearted man, a man of consideration and considerable talent. Please allow a round of applause for Martin Joseph, please. Give him a round.